Hello and welcome back to the third part of the backpack containers tutorial, where I kind of show everyone how to make a mod that allows you to use Skyrim backpacks from the Campfire mod as a container that you can take on the go. So with that, let's get started. So there's going to be a few things that we need to do to finish this mod up. One is to create all the static backpacks. Right now you can only use a black backpack, which is kind of weird. We'd like to be able to use the white one and the brown one and the ones with all the special trinkets on them. We want to let the user pick which backpack they're going to use. Right now it just picks the highest up in their inventory and it says, oh, you're always going to use this one. And in particular, it actually doesn't let you change your backpack, so we want to be able to let the user change their backpack. We want to make a maintenance script that every time it starts, it actually updates the weight on the backpack. Right now, if you remember correctly, when I set my backpack down and then pick it back up, we updated the weight of the backpack to include things like, whatever you put in it. So you put an iron sword in there that weighs 9 pounds. Well, I want to increase the weight of my backpack by 9 pounds. But as I will show you right now, that does not actually happen correctly. So I went ahead and right before starting this recording, I made a save where I just put an iron sword in a backpack, picked it back up, and so let's see what that looks like. Oddly enough, last time I did this, the game was a lot more choppy than it seems to be right now. Oh, no, it's still choppy. There we go. Not as much so. Anyway, so I set my backpack. Oh, I was supposed to show you how much it weighed, wasn't I? Let's go back. This might have already updated it, but okay. So you'll notice the weight is 5. The problem is my backpack already had an iron sword in it. And if you remember from the last video, these other 3 things, the tent, the cooking pot, and the axe, those were those get added back into your inventory when you pick the backpack back up. So it should only have an iron sword in it. So when I pick it back up, I look at it. Oh, look, now its weight is 14. So we just want to start the game off to make sure that it always starts with the right weight. And we're going to do that through a maintenance script. Another thing that we're going to do, and I'm hopefully not going to forget about, is you notice, actually let's do this. So let's say I drop the cooking pot. And then I set this down. Notice the cooking pot is not on here anymore. So it looks in your inventory, says, oh, which of those 3 items do you have? Okay, we'll actually put those on the outside model. But if I actually remove that cutter's axe, it doesn't update the model. So we want to be able to update the model too. Okay, and then what other things do we want to change? Well, we want to let the player change the backpack key. And in particular, just build an MCM so that it can tell you things like, oh, where's your backpack, in case you lose it, which I actually have done in a previous playthrough. I make mods so I can actually play with them, rather than some mod makers who just enjoy the process of making mods but don't actually play Skyrim. I actually just make mods and I'm like, oh, I really want this in my game, and then I play it. So yeah, I've lost it before, and it was really nice to have that MCM menu that tells me where it was. Also, yeah, change the key. And I'll probably think of a couple more things. Lastly, if we have time, I'm going to do this one way or another, but if we have time, I'm going to make a patch that works with another backpack mod, just so you can put stuff in there. And that was done by Foxfi, who watched the stream last time. Okay, so first thing you do, as always, is open the creation kit, which I've already done. I've already loaded backpack containers. And we have all the statics that we need to make. So we've got this black backpack here. We ignore that. Those are all, let's see, the rope, the knot, and the straps. Oh. You know what? I don't think we're going to be able to include the, Okay, sorry, what I'm thinking about is, I didn't think about this before starting the stream. So I was like, oh, well, we need to allow the user to put down any of these backpacks. So the black one, the brown one, the white one, or any of these other ones which have, these little trinkets on the outside. I don't think I can do that. Oh, you know what would tell me if I could do that correctly is if I look at, where's magic effects? There we go. Okay, cool. That's not how that works. So go to armor then. What I'd like to see is if that model, okay, so there's, if you don't know this, there's actually two different models in Campfire for the backpacks. There's the one that's on your back, and there's the one that's in the real world. So if I preview this, notice the backpack is laying down. It's a certain size. And then if I go to the static that I've made, although this is a case of some Campfire statics as well. There we go. Preview. Notice it's standing up, and these actually do have different NIF files, different 3D models. This one, you can like walk through, you can't really interact with it. It's literally there just to look like a backpack. The other one's the object that you can pick up, and you can, you know, what is it called? When you hold an item out in front of you, and you can interact with it in the real world. Versus the one that just sits on your character's back. Which actually kind of weirds me out. How does that work? I forget how. Is that a race? Shoot. I didn't even think to look this up beforehand. What I am looking for is, so this armor, you would think is the thing that actually sits on your player character. That is, when you're walking around, that's the thing that you see in the real world, and it's totally not. You can check this with the, say, Dwarven. Actually, what's a really weird one? Clothes, I think, are weird. Let's try that preview. So notice, that is not the model that sits on your character. That's the one where if you remove it from your inventory and it slaps down on the ground, that's the model. So I'm trying to remember where that actual model is. Yeah, I don't think it's there. Oh, here's what we should do instead. Let's go to all. Camp. And here are the backpacks. Okay, so there's some enchanting backpacks. Which, okay, that's not what we're looking for. Oh, what is this? What is Arma? Ah, I think this is the one we're looking. Is this the one we're looking for? Well, either way, it looks like it does exist. Oh, we can totally check it too. Luckily, I don't have any viewers right now, so maybe I'll just cut this part out. Okay, let's put this to the side here. Let's just click OK there. Okay, which one do I want? I forget. That's the one. Okay. So that is the one that is standing up and through the ground, which I think is the same thing as this one. Okay, so this is armor add-on. That's what we're going to be looking for. Armor. Oh, it wasn't there. Okay, whatever. Okay. So, cool. Looks like we have all of the... Oh, of course we do. That makes sense, because it's the model that's on your back. Okay, excellent. So, now we need to make statics for every single one of these. So, this is yet another case where I might do some video editing, even though I don't like doing video editing, because it's going to be really boring. So, sit back and enjoy some tea, like I'm about to do. Oh, actually, first let's see how many there are. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Wait, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Wait, there's only 9 divines. 8 if you're a... Well, we won't get into that argument. What is this dragon one? Oh, neat. I don't think I've ever seen that. I have no idea how to make that. I'll have to... in my actual playthroughs, see how to make a dragon backpack. Okay, so there's 10, so 33 backpacks total. We have 32 that we need to make. Now we actually modify these. I should probably figure out what that's called. Let's do brown first, I guess. Oops. Everything's fine. Nothing's broken. And see, if I were smarter, what I should have done is duplicated the black one only, 10 times, and then duplicated all of those, but whatever. Live and learn. Oh, you know what I am going to do? I am going to delete a lot of these and then just duplicate these. And, you know, when you delete in Creation Kit, it's not actually going to look like it deletes. But I think it does, and we'll double check. The reason I'm stopping this so I can remember that. And clean with the Elder Scrolls 5 Edit, which is a program which lets you view all the changes you make with your mod, and lets you make sure that the Creation Kit didn't do anything nefarious to your ESP here, which Creation Kit will do random nefarious things to your mod. So it's always good to clean your mods, and I always forget to do that, unfortunately. But we are hopefully not going to forget that now. What am I doing? Oh yeah, Kinnereth. That's right. I think you already grabbed that. Kinnereth? I forget. Let's find out. Kinnereth, yes. Just kidding. Actually, we can do a white one. Notice they all have a little D next to the count, which means deleted. Okay, so now let's see if it will let me do this. I've never tried this. Nope, it just does the first one, it looks like. Alright, whatever. I need to duplicate them twice, don't I? Okay, and the reason we do that is because we do that, and that. Boom, done. That, and done. Okay, let's brown, white, everything looks good so far. Just keep going. For anyone watching this going, wow, this is boring, you'd be like, well, yes it is. Someone has to do it. Most of the time, making mods is funner than this. 4 more to go. Three. Two. Nope. One. Oh man, this is exciting. Actually, it kind of is, because the version I made previously, I was just like, oh, I'm gonna make a very limited version of this mod, and it is just gonna have a brown backpack. And eventually, my character, who was like a soldier or something, they became an assassin, and then I was like, well, I really want a black one, but then I couldn't because the limited version. Wait, this is brown. Oops, this needs to be white. That's why I shouldn't talk at the same time. Character wanted a black backpack, but no, that just couldn't happen because I'd sort of hard-coded everything in. I actually made it end up happening eventually, but yeah, okay, that looks good. And the brown Zenithar looks like brown. Okay, cool. Yep. Okay, but now we're gonna have all these backpacks to choose from. Okay. The torture isn't over, though, because we also need to... let me make sure this is all recording fine. Okay, cool. It's recording fine. We also need to then add all of these in a very particular order to... I forget what it was. Add them to the player action script, the all backpacks variable. So... that was this guy right here, was an array, much like when we were going through and seeing if the player had the right backpack. We have an issue. Sorry, I just realized there's an issue where if the player has a middle all backpack as their default backpack, the put backpack down function will remove the wrong backpack. That is, if you're saying, say, wearing a white Zenithar backpack or something, or any of the non-black backpacks, but you have a black backpack in your inventory, it'll put the black one down, remove it from your inventory, but you're still wearing the other backpack, which is obviously not how I want the mod to function. Okay, so we're going to fix that. And see comment in player actions script. Okay. But anyway, like I was saying, so you had all these backpacks in your inventory, but then it only put down one in particular because we only had that one static, and when character, there it is. In this player actions quest, on that alias, in those properties, I only had one backpack in there. Now we get to add all of them. Okay, so BC, black pack. Oh man, I have to skip all those. Whatever. Okay. Ooh, and we have to be careful. Okay, what's going on here? Aha! That's funny. That's why we save often. Ooh, and while that's doing that, I'm gonna make more tea. Okay, player actions, player alias, and the properties. Okay, so these go in a very particular order. So black, black Akatosh, black RK, and this one needs to follow that order. So I think, shouldn't, okay, good. Black Akatosh. Black RK. Oh, notice it, remember I was talking about it deleting those statics for us. They're totally now gone. So that's great. Okay, arcade, develop. Dragon. Man, I really want to see one of those dragons. Right? Yes. Do you say Julianos or Julianos? Sometimes I say Julianos, and I'm guessing that's not right. Okay, those numbers look right. It's a 0 index system, so there's 11 backpacks there, and there's 33 total. Good. Oh, and I think it works this way, but let's make sure that it goes black, brown, etc. Black. Index 11 is when it starts with brown, and 22 is when it starts with white. Cool. Index 11 is where it starts with brown, and then 22 will likely work for us. Brown. Index 22 is white. Oh, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna stop right here and save. This creation kit is crazy. I'd hate to lose all that progress. Okay. So I was on white Akatosh. Blue eyes, white Akatosh. Blue eyes, white dragon. There we go. Okay, so that's 33. Again, because we didn't count the 0. 22 is white. Those are all white. 11 is brown. Those are all brown. Cool. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, so what is our next set of tasks? Okay, so we created the static backpacks. We added them to that script. Oh, right, we need to actually update the script to include them, because right now, you know, it goes through and it's like, oh, if the player has the backpack, you know, we're doing a loop. We're going through all the different backpacks they could have. And if they have that at the specific loop index, oh, we're going to actually say that their current backpack is the one at that loop index. And the static backpack, which we're going to throw in, you know, we're going to put into this guy, the one that says, oh, this is the one that's going to go on the ground, or, you know, the one that's going to be out in the real world, is the static backpacks, oh, except at 0. No, we want that at the loop index now, because we have more than one entry. And then we set it down. Okay, let's go ahead and compile that. Oops. Cool, that worked. And there's my T. Okay, cool. Cool. And we change the script, not the actual ESP. So, no saving required. I guess it would be a really good idea to test that right now. And if we do, we get to mark that off our to-do list. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Okay. Backpack containers, the rest of that's on. Cool. Oh, actually, before we go over there, so remember I have this batch file, so I don't have to sit there and input a whole bunch of different commands into the command window. Let's go ahead and add those white and Akatosh. Brown Akatosh. So white Talos, brown Akatosh. So this is one of those things that I changed in between the time. I just put comments telling me what those various form IDs are. Okie doke. Okay, so we already know it works with the black. Actually, let's go keep the black anyway. Do I want to do that? No, because I can't change backpacks right now. Okay, so we know the black works, or we're pretty certain the black works. So what happens if I do that? Yep, that looks right to me. Because that is a brown Akatosh. Yep. Cool. Oh, one thing I can show you, what I was talking about before, was now it puts the black down, even though we're equipped with the brown, and we still can't unequip that. Now I bet when we pick it back up, it's totally going to force equip onto us and force unequip the other one, so let's find out. No, interesting. Okay, so your prior instructions take precedence over the new instructions if this has been force equipped. Interesting. Really cool. Or, not really cool, but good to know. Okay, let's test the white one. I'm just pouring my tea. Okay. We'll go over here. Dump those two suckers. Oh, weird. I don't think I've ever dropped one of those. Huh. Anyway. Cool. Wait, tell us. Good. Awesome. That appears to be working. Alright, so that one is done on our to-do list. Okay, so now let's take a look at this player actions. Okay, so how do we want to... Oh, and I get to mark this off my to-do list. Actually, let's make sure. Change current static backpack to actually use loop number. Yes, I did. Okay, so if the player has middle or any... Oh, whatever. Okay, so how do we stop that? Well, what are we stopping? Well, they have one of them equipped. Okay, I have an idea. The idea is going to be, we're going to take this part out. We're going to, especially this part, let's just take that out right now. Yeah. And then, so it's going to go through the entire thing, and we're just going to set some bools that say, oh, they have this one equipped, or, you know, they don't have this one equipped, and there's one equipped at this index, or it's something like that. And then instead of using loop index, we're going to record where that was, where they had one equipped. And then we'll have to do a couple indices, I think. So, all right, let's do this. So if they have any at any point in time, it's going to set this backpack out to true. And of course, that's only going to be the case if backpack wasn't out before. So outside of this while, if backpack out, implicitly stating if backpack out equals true, then we're going to do this. So, except not at the loop index, we're going to make a couple new of these. So int loop index at no, what do I want to call this? What's a good name? Try to come up with self-referencing names which, if someone looks at the code, you know, code's really ugly. So if they look at the code, they can at least start to decode what it is you're trying to do. So index at which backpack found. I don't know, something like that. I don't think we need to initialize that, actually. Okay. Okay, so this will technically, like, if you had like 7 backpacks in your inventory, this would pick the last one now, because every time it finds one, it then re-updates that to be the last. I am going to switch this. I would like the top one to be the one at which it gets put on the ground. It just makes more sense. If I downloaded this mod, I would expect that to be the case. So if does not equal 0, or no, that's ugly. That's horrible. Is less than or equal to 0, and instead of making that minus, and obviously we can't do that, we need to do that. Okay, so let's see, it starts off at n, while oh shoot, that's not what I wanted. This was the wrong if statement. This one was saying, oh, if you have any in your inventory, which means if there are any in your inventory greater than 0. It's this one we need to modify. So while loop index is greater than 0. There we go. I think that's right. Okay, so it starts off at n. Let's say you had 3 backpacks. So it starts off at 3. 3 is greater than 0. It does this. It finds 1. Yay, whatever. Doesn't matter. Loop index goes down. So now it's 2. Still goes. Now it's 1. Still goes. Now it's 0. It does not go. It went 3 times. There are 3 backpacks. Okay, all the indexing works. Okay, we haven't actually done anything yet, but I guess we have set that. And we'll go ahead and input those. Okay, while I was doing that, I was trying to think of a way in which we could do what I was talking about. I think we're going to do it this way. Int index at which backpack, what do I want to call it? Equipped. And this one I think we are going to set as -0. And every time we run this key out, oh, do I want to put this? I do. Okay. I'm going to put these all in this function. If you watched last time, or if you watched the previous ones, you know that this is because it'll make your save files just ever so slightly smaller if you do it this way. Basically, the idea being that it dynamically creates these variables if you put them inside of events or functions, which kind of sucks because, you know, it has to then dynamically allocate memory, but it actually deletes all of the memory when you turn off the game, and so it doesn't save it in your save file, and it doesn't lead to as much save bloat. Okay, so that's good. Okay, cool. So every time it runs this, it's going to initially... Actually, we are going to do that. There's no reason to. Whatever. Okay. And so if the backpack is out, if this variable does not equal -1, else and if. Okay, so what that does is if this somehow gets set, it's going to do something different. Otherwise, it's just going to be whatever the first index, or technically the last index it finds, is. And so we literally just have to... Oh, this is even easier. Check this out. So we're always going to use the index at which the backpack is found. So if it equals -1, meaning we didn't find anything, we are just going to set it okay, sorry, switch those. So now it's going to always quote unquote find an equipped backpack, but if there never was one that was equipped, we're going to be, oh, well then the one that's quote unquote equipped is the last one we found. That's one we're going to equip in its place. But if it did find one, which we haven't set yet, but we will, then this is not going to be -1, and instead it's going to be whatever we set it to. Okay, that works. So last part of that is actually setting it. So in each and every single one of these, if we find it, then we can check if it's equipped. I forget how that works. So we're going to open a new window with our favorite reference. So Creation Kit has a website. They've got the script objects. Watch the previous video if you want to see kind of how to find that. Okay, I'm gonna guess it is an object reference, but it might be a property of an actor. I don't know. Equipped. That's an event. I think it's something weird like has equipped rather than get equipped. Nope, I'm wrong. Okay, that's fine. So there's equip item. Get equipped item. That's in a hand. What about equipped random thing? I guess this is considered a armor, isn't it? Shout, spell, weapon. Oh, cool. Here we go. Okay, so it's on the player. That's cool. If player ref dot is equipped this thing, does that make sense? Okay, so player reference, if they have this backpack in particular equipped, we set the equipped backpack to the one that is currently in the loop right now. And actually, I'm going to just, for readability, say it's the loop index. I feel like that reads easier. Okay. Technically, this, if you could find some pathological way of equipping multiple backpacks, this would then find the highest up, but that's fine. So I'm not going to worry about that. Okay, so if that is equipped, this is not -1. So in the case of this right here, if it is not -1, meaning we skip this, then we just do the one that's equipped. Cool. If we didn't find anything, but we did have a whole bunch of backpacks, then the one that is quote-unquote equipped is the one that we found. We're going to equip it, in which case we still put down the equipped one. Cool. I think that works. Let's find out if it works. Oops, my tea has been sitting here. Shoot. I'm drinking a tea that you can steep like 17 times. You know, not really, but and it's probably kind of over steeped now. Okay. Creation kit. Player actions. Player alias. Yep, that makes sense. No viable alternative, so 43.7. Index at which backpack? Okay, 43.7. 43 if that. Interesting. What I was thinking it could have been, because you'll see this sometimes, is if you put something in a conditional or a loop, there's some cases where something cannot actually be initialized, but you're actually checking it anyway. But it looks like this always gets initialized before it gets checked. So I don't think that's our problem. Let's look at the no viable alternative at input. If index at which backpack? Index at which backpack? And that is, okay, it's not a case thing, is it? I think Papyrus cares about what case you put, so if this was like an uppercase I, it would be like, I don't know what's going on. Oh, there it is. Okay, so it's conditional. We're checking if it's equal, we're not setting it equal. add anything. That's good. All right. This is an easy check too. So, actually, let's go to our bat and let's add a couple more. Whenever I do testings of things that are like in arrays, I like to have more than 3. 3 is a decent amount, but 4 or more of whatever it is I'm testing for an array is good, because then you can do sort of like asymmetric tests and tests that aren't right in the middle or right at the boundaries. Because sometimes you can mess up your indexing, but that be hidden by the fact that both edges are the same and the middle is the middle. So there's a whole bunch of symmetries that can fool you into thinking you did everything correctly. So, what am I looking for? Armor? Yeah. So, oh yeah, we want a white dragon. That's what we want. F8. 2F8. EA. Okay, cool. Now we're going to test it. Uh-oh. Oh, weird. He named it something else. Damage taken from animals. Still looks cool. Kind of useless, but... Actually, I really like the way that these backpacks have been designed. There's a perfect trade-off of like, oh, if you actually decide to put one of these on there, it's not as effective anymore because you're not exactly wearing it. You're kind of wearing it, but not exactly. So technically your magicka would regenerate 25% faster if you just equip that. Okay, anyway, so like I was saying, you don't want to do edges, so I don't want to equip that one or that one for testing, but I should equip that one. There's 2 in front of it, 1 behind of it. Any sort of mess up we make in terms of index will easily be shown by doing that. So it's equipped. When I put it on the ground, it is the correct backpack. Cool. When I put it back on, it is the correct backpack. Hooray! Cool. Nice. I would do more testing on that, but we will be testing that in a bit anyway for the next bullet point that we have here. Okay, so that is done. So if player has all backpacks, remove the wrong one. Not anymore. Okay, now let the user choose which backpack is their container rather than it being whichever is lowest in the list. Lowest / highest. Oops, if I knew how to spell. Okay, let user change their backpack to a different one. Okay, so that earlier I had to sit down and think about how I was going to do that. So you would like, if you had multiple backpacks in your inventory, you'd just be like, love to be able to like click another one and it just switch. But to do that, I think I would have to apply a script to every single backpack armor item such that it could listen for keydown events or like activation events, which seems a very poor use of coding, or, you know, seems kind of sloppy. So it makes me wonder that instead, you know, you put the key down, or you put the backpack down, and you go into your inventory and you equip another one, and then when you pick the backpack back up, it just automatically transfers those items. So quote unquote transfers. It's not actually doing any transferring, but it transfers those items into that new backpack and forces it to be equipped rather than the one that you had previously, which makes sense to me on like a physical level, right? If I have a backpack on, well, I need to put it down first to equip another backpack. So I'm going to go with that, and that is a lot easier because all I have to do is on the key down, this guy right here, all I need to do is check for all of those things. You know, I wonder, it might make a lot more sense to start putting all of this into its own code. Sorry, into its own function, just for clarity. If we did that, how would that work? So it would... Maybe I'll keep conditional checks inside of the key down. But then anytime you do anything, like this one can probably stay. Setting bools and calling functions is good, but this I should probably put in its own function to clean it up. Okay, so if the backpack was not out, function check to put check if backpack to set down. Or maybe set correct backpack down. Cool. I don't think I need any of these. Yep, I think I can literally just suck this up and then put it right here. In MATLAB, you can just Control I and everything auto indents, but not here. Okay. There we go, kind of clean it up. Okay. Technically, this might be good to have in its own function, not sure. But this is a little cleaner, so... another thing we can think of is, do we want this to return anything? It's not really useful right now. You can imagine saying, oh, return if there was a backpack to set down in the first place. So false if there wasn't, true if there was. We don't need that in this code, but if you end up doing something like Lilac, which is like a unit testing framework, those return values can be extremely useful. And I've been told, although I'm not strictly a coder in real life, I have been told that it's a great idea to always write functions which return values. So we would do that if we were better people, but we're not. Okay, so set correct backpack down. I'm not doing it just because I don't know what to do with it. I don't know what the point is. I would love it if someone, especially if you watch this and you're like, oh, no, you really should do that. Tell me in the comments exactly why. Like I said, the only thing I can think of is a unit testing framework. But I'm sure there's good coding practices that I don't understand. Okay, anyway, make sure no one's watching still. Yep, one viewer. Yeah, I didn't tell anyone I was streaming, so it makes sense that no one's watching. Okay, so what was I trying to do here? Oh, right. So when they set it down, so if the backpack is out, no. Ah, yes. When we pick the backpack back up. Oh, okay. Maybe we'll want to change it in the backpack picking up. Maybe we want to do that here. Yes, this is exactly where we want to do it. Okay. Okie dokie. Okay, so we need to do a couple things actually. Where should I write this? Oh, let's write it in here. Let's put some comments in here. If user has a backpack already equipped, we have to drop the weight of the previous backpack and use new one instead. Else, do as always. Okay, that's always going to happen. That's always going to happen. This changes. Those are always going to happen. This is, ooh, okay. So we're going to have to be really careful too. We're going to have multiple backpacks here. So we have to add the original one back, but we're equipping the new one. Also keep in mind that we have to update this weight before we at least equip it, but I think also even before we add it back into their inventory. But we can at least do all of this. Okay, so first we want to make maybe a function that checks if there's a backpack. Function player has backpack equipped. And this one is going to return a value. That's its point. Okay, so now this returns a value. Let's actually make it always return false right now. Okay. So if that, I think it's good practice, or I think it's good, okay practice to be able to put function calls in there rather than allocating memory for a new Boolean. Else and some of these we're gonna put outside. So like these two at least. This is always going to happen. The one reason I'm putting this out of order with this is I was kind of like, oh, maybe I want to make sure this always completes first, but I think it always completes before anything. If it doesn't, we could just put like a wait, but I'm pretty sure it does. I've never seen it fail before, so. That is to say, it gets put into your inventory before it updates the weight correctly, and then it's equipped at the wrong weight. I've never seen that, so I think it makes sure that this function completes before it then does this next one. Okay. Okay, so we want to update the current backpack. Okay, where's this function? Up. That's a really weird place to put that. Okay. Ah, okay, cool. Yeah, cool. So let's do this. As visual aids to myself, I like to put these offset. So change current backpack, oops, to be the one equipped, not the one on the ground. Because the one on the ground, which is the current backpack, we know exactly how to set that weight. think we have that as a variable. Update backpack weight. Current backpack weight. It's backpack weight. Ah, yes. That's the variable. Cool. Oh, we want to change this for Requiem, but we'll do that later. Oh, I should probably put that in here. Where was I? Okay. Okay, so backpack weight. Okay, the one that's on the ground gets set back to the correct backpack weight. Oh, interesting. So, I almost want to return the correct backpack instead of a boolean. So let's do this. Return none. Do armor. So what this will do when I actually write it is it will return either, oh, you don't have a backpack equipped, in which case if conditions on nones evaluate false. So then it still works the way you think it should. But if you do have a backpack, then this will evaluate true, and then it'll go, oh, I'll set the weight of your previous backpack to 5 pounds. And I'm going to update the weight of the new one. Ah, perfect. Armor. New backpack equals that. So, if new backpack, that is, if there is one in the first place, okay, sets the old backpack to the backpack weight. Updates the new backpack weight. And, ooh, here we go. Current backpack. Is this an object reference? Nope, it's an armor. Okay. Equals the new backpack. Then all of this stuff can come out. That's done. Okay, let's double check that all this makes sense. So, assuming this function works, it'll give us a backpack. Let's say you didn't have one equipped. Well, then it evaluates here, and it just says, oh, update the weight, do everything as you did before. Cool. If this does return a backpack, you go, oh, we'll set the one on the ground to its original weight, update the new backpack weight, and your current backpack is going to be the new backpack, so that when you add that new one, no, that's not right. Nope, you need to add the old one. Okay. Add the current backpack. Add the current backpack before you update the weight. Okay, so even though those look the same, they are not. Or it looks redundant, but it's not. Oh, yes it is. I need to do that. Yeah, because of that thing. Yeah. I mean, we could make an armor that was like, oh, your old backpack, but whatever. We'll just put that in there. Same number of lines of codes. Okay, of code. So let's see. You set the weight of the old one back to its original, and you give it back to the player. Then update the one that, oh, you know what? We have to unequip them with that one. Remove it, change its weight, and then add it back to them, and then force them to equip it. Okay. so they unequip the new one. It's removed from them. We update the weight. The new backpack, or the current backpack, is now the new one. And then we force them to equip it as before. I think that works. Okay, if user has a backpack already equipped, drop the weight of the previous backpack, use the new one, else do as you normally do. Yep, I think all of that is done. Now, of course, there might be various bugs that we need to work out, but that is pretty much done. Now, of course, we need to actually make that function, but and this is fine. Yeah, I think we're done here. I was just kind of worried that we did something here that wasn't correctly calling something, but I think this works. Cool. Okay, so now let's go ahead and make this. So we're going to do a while loop again. And for that, we're just going to copy this code. Ooh. It's not really player action. What I'm thinking about right now is in order to be able to loop through and check those backpacks, I need access to this variable in the first place. Or these, yeah, this one right here. I need access to that variable. I can either call it in here, but then I'm going to be calling it a ton, which is kind of annoying. I guess I could initialize a new variable that holds all of that information, but I don't think that's a really clean way of doing it. So I could put this function into here instead. But then this function player already has backpack equipped. Seems more like, I don't know, not a player action. Seems more like a coder action. Yeah, we should, okay. We should keep this function in here. And well, for the time being, we're going to pretend that we have access to that variable. We'll figure out how right there. So okay, assuming that's there. Num backpacks right there, so loop index. It's going to go from bottom to top, as always. You know, reverse alphabetical order. Loop index decreases, that's good. If player, get item count as form. That's not what we're checking. We are only checking this. Out. Index at which backpack is found. So instead, index at which backpack is equipped. Yeah, I think we can take this entire chunk out. Okay, so we're going to keep going down the list. If they have a backpack equipped. Oh, you know what we should check is what happens if they don't even have that in the first place? How does the function evaluate? Classifying, they could be carried, will always return false, that's fine. Form list checks if any form. Yeah, that's exactly why we should change in a later version to actually use form lists rather than these giant arrays, because if you put like things like form lists into is equipped, it checks like all of them immediately and will immediately return what's equipped, which would be really nice, but whatever. Okay, I'm gonna guess because let's see. If it doesn't tell us, I'm going to guess that if there's not even the thing in the inventory in the first place, it evaluates the way you think it should. That is, it goes, do you have this equipped? No. You don't even have it in your inventory, so no. Dual wielding is, we're not checking. We don't have to worry about that. Using, yep. Okay, cool. I'm going to assume that what I said is true, and we'll find out. Hey. Okay. In which case, there we go. In which case, this should work. So, is it equipped? Well, if it is equipped, no, don't do that. I hate that feature. Index at which backpack is equipped is equal to the loop index. The only thing we need to do now is if index at which backpack is equipped does not equal -1, else and if. Return all backpacks at the index which it's equipped. So, player already has a backpack equipped. Assuming we know how to do that, it goes through, checks if any of it equipped. If it doesn't find anything, this thing remains -1. So if it is not -1, it does something interesting, but it was -1, so it's just returning none. Then everything works as we set up there. It works as it always has. If it's not -1, that is, it somehow got set, which means at some point something was equipped, then we return the backpack at the index of which the backpack was equipped. In which case, this is not none. There is a new backpack, and it does all of this stuff right here, assuming this was all done correctly. Okay, so last thing we need to do is figure out how to deal with his all backpacks before we test. What is the most efficient, or the best way, the most professional way to do this? One thing we can do is we can just make a variable, all backpacks equals, I think I already have the quest up here, or I don't. Oh, you know what? This is the quest. Okay. So I think I can just do self as the other script. Oh, but that's on the player alias. So I think I have to cast to the player alias and then cast to the script that's attached to the player alias in order to access that script. Yeah, it is player alias. Cool. And then this dot all backpacks armor. I think that's the syntax. It's unclear if this is the best way of going about it, because this is then going to dynamically create a armor array of size 33 each time the player tries to pick up their backpack, and then dump it, so it won't lead to save bloat, but it will require allocating, a certain amount of memory. I don't think this is very big at all. I think the way that that actually works under the hood is it just has a big array of form IDs and certain, probably a whole bunch of flags and whatnot. I don't think it saves the entire armor piece in memory. I think. I mean, the other way of doing it would be every single one of these casting it instead. But it seems like just going through the alias and going through the script every single check. Maybe that's the same though. I guess it would depend if Papyrus vectorizes any operations. But if I did it the casting way, it wouldn't even have to dynamically allocate memory. It would just, instead, check. All right, let's try that. Let's see if that even compiles. Nope. Cannot convert to unknown type player alias. So I didn't do that casting, right? By the way, this is the one we should have been compiling. All right, let's try this again. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so if I go in here, that's right, I remember this. There's like a hidden... Yeah, so there's an ID associated with each alias. So if you go into the code that we've written, you don't cast like that, but you do self.getAlias at the alias ID, like that. And I think then you can cast to a script. That sounds familiar. That worked. Cool. Have I added any properties? I don't believe so. Cool. Now we go to the aliases to make sure we didn't add any properties there, which I don't think we did, but always good to check. Cool. Okay, so the one thing this might do, and one thing we want to check out for, is... Yes, go away. So this was nice because it didn't have to allocate any new memory, and it won't lead to save bloat. But the trade-off is that this might take a really long time. It has to go and project every single one of these backpacks, 33 of them, over and over and over again. And I don't think that is, what do they call those, latent scripts? I don't think that's a latent script. I don't think it takes an undetermined amount of time. I think it's pretty easy to do that. But if it is latent in any way, that is, it has to go, it sort of lets things slide in between it every time it does that. That's not what latent is, but that's another problem it can have. Then this might take a long time. One thing we can do, I'm going to put it here, is code profiling, especially at where you continuously call the other script properties. Okay, so what we can do is code profiling later. I've written some MATLAB scripts which take outputs from profiling, and then so Skyrim has something that lets you look at how long pieces of code take. You have to manually code it in, but so you can actually see how long various functions take to complete. And then my MATLAB scripts then plot everything, so you can see what scripts are taking the longest, and what you're gonna have, or first off, what you would even be able to optimize in the first place, but then what you would choose to optimize first. So I might try that later, but we're not doing that, and I don't think I'm gonna make a video for that. Unless someone's like, oh, I really want to know how to do that, in which case I can show you. Just put in the comments if you want to see that. Okay, cool. This is done, not necessarily with bugs, but it is now done. So let's test it. Okay, so let's see what we have. Let's say I first equip this one. Oh, look how pretty I am. Okay, I can put it on the ground. I can set stuff in it. Let's say my sword. And, I don't know, N arrows. Ooh, I think I can even put gold in it, can't I? Okay, but the only thing that should actually weigh it down is this sword. Okay. Now I pick it back up. Oh, hooray, it's equipped correctly. And it's updated the weight correctly, so that's 14. I can't equip new backpacks. That is all working as expected. Put it down again. And then I put this one on. Cool. And now, here's the weird part. When I pick it back up, does it work correctly? Yep. So this one is 14 pounds. The old one's back to 5 pounds. And if I set it down, it is the right backpack. Yay! And it still has all my stuff, which, again, I'd be shocked if it didn't, because we're not actually storing anything in that. We're just giving it the illusion that we're storing stuff in it. Cool. Well, I think that works. Let's just test it out with a few other things. Okay. Oh, I want the black one now. Oh, that did not work. Interesting. I totally expected that to work. Okie dokie. Oh, I wonder if it's setting a bool and then not refreshing that bool or something. Let's try Talos. What? Oh. Oh. Oh, okay. Maybe. What I'm thinking about right now is maybe there's a problem with indexing. Do I add the backpack back before I use the index at which the backpack was found? Because if so, it's going to possibly, sometimes, not always, sometimes put it back in the wrong, or, you know, re-equip the wrong index. It'll be like, oh, let's say you found index 3. And so when you go to add your backpack back, you suddenly now have 4 backpacks, but it is going to use index 3, which might mess things up. Let's find out. So if I took Talos, put it on the ground, and then I equip Kine, is it going to be Talos? No, it's Kine. Okay. So now, let's see, it was black going to brown. Okay, so if I was Kine, and I equipped Talos, will this be Kine? No, it's Talos. So what the hell happened? Okay, let's try this. So Talos is on the ground. I equip brown fur. That works. Okay, brown is on the ground. I equip black. Ah, so it might just be... Okay, so what was that? I put down index 2, equipped index 1. So when I put this back on, it somehow decided that it wanted to use index 2 rather than index 1. Maybe. So I don't think my theory works. So let's see, I had brown equipped the one right below it. So if I did Kine, then equipped Akatosh. Yeah, let's try that. Okay, that should work correctly. Yeah, so now I'm going to try to equip Akatosh, the one below it. And that just works. Magic. Really annoying magic. Okay. And let's just double check this again. Somehow that turns brown. Yep. What the hell? That is weird. Okay. Oh, you know what I should check? Is if this happens with all types of backpacks. Let's just remove that from our inventory. We'll equip this one. Grab that one. Oh, I just remembered. There's another thing I want to do. What was it? Distance requirement for picking bag back up. Basically, I don't want you to be able to run away like 10 miles and then pick your backpack up, because that's cheating. So you'll have to be like, let's say that was the backpack on the ground. You need to be like this far away from it or something to be able to use the key and pick it up. Okay, anyway. So what was my idea? So I have that equipped. I'm going to try to equip the brown fur now. Will this be white or brown? Put your bets in. I'm going to guess it will be white. Idea being that there's something weird with the indexing of the original arrays, such that the very top one, that guy right there, the black guy, never is able to be seen for whatever reason. Maybe it's like a zero indexing problem. I forgot. You know, that could be it. It could just be a zero indexing thing. Yep, cool. So it appears to just be a problem with the black backpack, which is the very first backpack we have. Just a quadruple check. I'll try to equip it. Oh, weird. It's brown. Okay, cool. So that is almost working, which is surprising. And loop index. Okay. Maybe it's something to do with this. You know, it must be something to do with this. Because it picks the highest wall. Uh-oh. Loop index. Ooh, we have a problem. Okay. This is really nefarious in programming. So let's say I have... I'll do this with a visual aid. Okay. Here's my static backpacks. I have 32 of them? No, I have 33 of them. 33 backpacks. The first, you know, if I want to index the very last one, it has to be at 32, not 33. If I look in here, player is equipped with the all backpacks. Well, what is the first loop index? It's the number of backpacks, 33. What is all backpacks at index of 33? Who knows? And it could be any random thing in memory. assuming that papyrus wasn't coated with protections, which I would actually guess it wasn't coated with protections like that. But it might have been. Who knows? Not only that, but we never can reach the 0 index, which is where the black backpack is. So what is the best way of going about this? I need to remember this for everything else I'm doing too, or anything else where I'm looping backwards. Like this one's going forward, that's fine. Because the whole less than, greater than, less than, equal to, greater than, equal to thing will take care of those for us. So I need to change that here first before I forget. The smartest way of going about this, I want to say, is dropping that. So if there's 33 backpacks, the first index is at 32. But we also want to include 0. And I think that's probably the cleanest and most reasonable way of going about that. So let's do the same here. And we want to include 0. Okay, I bet you that is going to solve our problem and make our code not buggy anymore. Not that we could see that it was buggy, but it almost certainly. Oh, you know what? I bet it's in our papyrus logs. We're going to check those here in a second. I bet it will go, there is nothing in index 33. That's not what I want. I also bet you that if you only had the black backpack in your inventory, it would never even register that that's a backpack. Okay, so how do I only have one open? I do, okay. So if I went into Skyrim, logs, script, papyrus 0. Cannot check 2 for a none item to be equipped. Array index 33 out of range. 0 to 32. There it is. This one kind of bugs me. What's going on here? Actor is equipped. Line 123 in the player actions quest script. Line 123. Oh, okay. So it complains when it checks for if something is equipped. Okay. So I was wrong. That function whines when it has nothing. So first we need to see if the player has it in the first place. Oh no, it's probably fine because this is where it was having an error, so I bet it turned it as a none, and you're going, oh, is it equipped with none? And then it goes, is equipped, or yeah, it doesn't even put none, it just makes it empty. So I bet that will solve itself, but let's keep this open. And I'm pretty sure I already recompiled those, but we're gonna just recompile anyway. Okay, let's try again. I guess one thing I should clarify too is earlier I'd mentioned, I like having 4 or more items for any sort of thing that I do arrays for. And I was like, oh, because you don't want to do the boundary effects. Well, you definitely want to do the boundary effects. It's just you don't want to only have boundary effects and middles. That's what I meant. Because boundary effects like the one you just saw are often sources of trouble. Let's see. Okay, let's make sure it worked the way it did previously. Actually, that's not how we do that. Except it chose a black one. I should have equipped the other one. Oh well. Okay. So we have the backpack. equipped. We cannot unequip it. We cannot equip other things. What happens when I put it down? Then I equip the brown one, like before. Well, look, the brown one is now great. So, moment of truth. What happens when I equip the black? I predict it'll work. And I'm usually not optimistic. Yay, okay. And, just for completion, I need to put it on the ground first. We need to check the other boundary to make sure we're not undercounting. Good. That looks great. That all works correctly. Great. Okay. Everything is awesome. Oh, and we should also check this to see if we do have problems. Okay, that's a bummer. Camp. That's camp problems. That's not my problem. Okay, what happened here? Assigning none to a non-object variable named. Ooh. I don't know what exactly that means, but okay. Line 195 of player actions quest script. When I'm updating the auxiliary items down on line 195. Every time this was called, it was whining about this, it looks like. Oops. I already am in there. 195 has pot. It's not going to tell me, is it? Yeah, this probably is enabled. Okay, so there's an is enabled that's being called somewhere. That is not looking correct. Oh. But you would think that would show up in all of them. 189. Ah, it is. 201, 195, 189. So that is this one, and this one. So it looks like it might just be the first time it's called then. Which we should fix, but temp 32 on an object. I don't think it's later on. I think it's just when it first starts. Let's set them all down. Let's see what that. You know, one thing I'm also thinking too is before I was like, oh, the best thing we should do is to disable and delete those axes, pots, and tents. And I'm wondering if that's a bad idea now, and if we want to just disable and enable them like we do with the backpack object. This one excluded, because the pot. I mean, this one we're setting new things into. So we're like, oh, put the brown one down or put the white one down. But everything else, including the container and everything, those don't change. Backpack container is an object reference. So are those. Yeah, let's go ahead and make those. Container. And then the stacks. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Axe. Cooking pot. Tent. And that's going to be for the axe, the pot, and the tent. Oh, I think I didn't do that because, oh, and this is probably why it's whining. Those are nuns right now. And I don't think I can force it to fill. Oh, what am I talking? No. This is fine. Because those are statics, right? Yeah. Yep, everything's fine. Nothing's broken. Okay. Axe OBJ. So if you have an axe and you're going to pick this up, then you're going to disable. You're not going to delete. And instead of if it's not enabled, which would happen if you've already picked them up, Axe OBJ. Oh, cool. I think I can even make this easier. I think I just need to do that, and that. Oh, but I do need to enable. And we'll put those scales, because we don't need to keep setting those, up here. Now, of course, this will make it persist in memory, but they're pretty small items. So I think that's better than deleting and reinstantiating them. Set scale, yeah. I'm assuming that's the same with the axe. So I'm just going to... Okay, let's try that out. Cool. And to test this, we just do the same thing we did last time, although we know it all looks like it works. Cool. That's not why we did that. We did that. This. And look, no warnings about our mod, I think. Ah, that's a great bit of text to see. Okay, great. Oh yeah, let's do a quick distance requirement for the bag. Okay, so when you're gonna pick stuff up, I forget when that's called. It's probably on the key down. Pick bag up. Where do we want that to be? Well, if it's a player action, I think it should be in this one, because you're like, if you're not a very smart person and you wanted to pick up your backpack even though you can't see it, that's on you. So let's do that here. Flipped. Max backpack distance to pick up equals. Oh, you know what? If we make it a property, we have to set it elsewhere. But then if someone wants to, if that like really makes one of your users angry and they're super determined to be able to make that really big, they can do that. If you make it a property, they can just open up your ESP, change that value, and then be happy. I don't think anyone's really going to do that, but just in case. And I'm going to use my cheat sheet. Yet again, I have where's the player actions? I have a previous version that I had made that I occasionally check for stuff. We're going to be doing that soon. So I'm going to look at how I did that. Apparently previously I had put it here instead as max bag distance, and I put that at 1024, which I thought was a pretty reasonable distance, so I'm going to keep it that way. Okay, that's what I'm looking for. So if the backpack is out, and if the player's current cell is the same as the backpack, I have to, yep, I have to do that. Okay, that's fine. Oops. What is it called? Well, let's do this first. Okay. We project the quest down onto a script. We get the object reference as a property, and then we get its parent cell. So if the cell is the same cell that you're in, so you're not cheating, and the backpack container distance from the player ref is less than or equal to the maximum distance at which you can pick your backpack up, only then do you get to pick it back up. Else, I want to do end if, not end. Okay, if it's too far, let's go ahead and make a message. Let's inform the player at least that their backpack is just way too far. To do that is really trivial. We go miscellaneous message. Also, you'll not, we've used debug.notification a lot. Apparently that's a really bad idea to do for actual messages to the player because sometimes they're not seen or something weird, and you get to control a lot more if you make a message. So we do new message. We'll call it, that is my other mod that I'm making. BC. Backpack too far message. We don't want it to be a message box. That makes it pop up, stop game, and force you to like click an OK. So we're gonna do that. You can change the display time if you want. It's always pretty good. I think that works. There's a possibility that doesn't work, but whatever. How do we want to word this? Something like your backpack is too far to pick up. Yeah, there we go. Cool. Maybe we should have put a hyphen. I don't know. Else message dot show. You can actually put with message boxes at least options, and then get the options by then writing like an integer. But we're not doing that obviously. Okay, so now we just need to make sure that is attached. Compile it. Actually, we need to go to the quest. Which one did I put it on? I think this one. Nice. There it is. Okay. So that one we can autofill. This one we're going to set to 1024 because I liked that number. Okay, so let's go ahead and test that. Oh, actually, let's mark it as complete. Or mark it as we are working on it. And start. Oh, right. Oops, I want that one. Okay, put it on the ground, and you're, a rational distance away. You can pick it back up. Put it down on the ground. And you're kind of like way too far away. Now look, it's not letting you. It says your backpack is too far away to pick up. Okay. And that'll work in different cells. We'll go ahead and test it, but I already know it works. As you might guess, if you are a person who plays video games, putting a backpack right where those crosshairs are, and then going through the door doesn't mean anything. They're not actually close together in computer space.
I trust you're not planning any trouble.
Oh, I'm planning trouble. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. Oh, my backpack's too far away to pick up. Oh, let's do this. We haven't done this in a while. I'm gonna save. And then I'm gonna quit. I'm just gonna quit to the main menu though. I don't feel like reloading. Just pick up some other random file so that it gets rid of all the things in memory. I think it does that correctly. I'm not actually sure. And then go back to it. Except, actually, this is the same area. Oh, no, it's not. Just kidding. Ah, shucks. I think I just saved over it. Well, whatever. I already know it works. Basically, what I was going to test for is that, oh, it's still outside, and you can still change your backpack, and everything's still fine. When I actually end up using this for my player character, I will be able to actually check if that's the case. But spoiler alert, I'm pretty certain it's going to work just fine, because I've played with this mod before. Okay. By the way, a lot of people get freaked out with this. The VM is freezing. Oh, it's frozen. That literally just means you pulled up a start menu or a pause menu. Cool, that's done. All right, now what? Make a maintenance run every time the game loads. Ah, this is the update wait thing. Okay, so actually let's go. Nope, that's not yet. Okay. So when I begin this on init, when the quest runs, it runs maintenance. But I need this to run every time the player, the game starts up. And so the way to do that is on player load game. We're going to do this maintenance script. And this is actually when the this part becomes important. So player actions quest maintenance. Cool. So when the game starts, I guess maybe I should put this under that. So when every time the game starts up, it's going to run maintenance. Maintenance, well, if you didn't have a backpack container, which you do, then it would do that. So this is going to be skipped. If you have in between switched these two numbers, that one as well, then it would actually catch that. And then anything you put inside of here, including updating the version number, is then modified in the game, which is great. Because that's how you end up versioning things. So let's say you were like, oh, actually the backpack weight should be 3.5. So version 1.1 should be 3.5. By the way, that's the number in Requiem. This would then correctly update that weight, and all the rest of your function calls are going to use that correct weight now. So yeah, oops. That's how you do that. So anyway, we need to do another thing in here. We need to force the player to unequip their backpack and then update the weight of the backpack to include all the stuff that is inside of the backpack and then re-equip it to the player. I think we've kind of done most of that already as functions. So update backpack weight. Hooray! We already know what the current backpack is. Awesome. So when the maintenance runs, every time the maintenance runs, we're going to force this to happen. So we're going to say player ref dot remove item. And actually, I'm just going to find the piece of code that does that already. Yep. Oh, actually, we'll make him unequip it first. Okay, it unequips the current backpack, or removes it from their inventory. It then, wherever that is, unequip, remove, update. We'll have to remember to use the right variable. Where is that? There it is. Current backpack, not the new backpack. We update that current backpack's weight, and then we do the reverse process, or kind of reverse. We're going to add the item back. And then we're going to equip it to the player. Let's just grab that. So, as we saw earlier, the code as it wasn't correctly updating the backpack weight when you closed your game, then restarted it the next time. Let's see if it does it now. We'll compile our code so that it takes those changes into account. Frostfall, I don't care. No, I love Frostfall, but I don't care what that error is. We will make sure we haven't added any properties, because I don't think we have. But you never know. Yep, looks great. Cool. Oh hey, I've got viewers. That's pretty cool. Or like 2, but that's cool. And let's test that. For anyone watching this right now, feel free to use the chat room. If you have even, what you think is a silly question, I think it'd be a lot of fun to answer. I obviously do this because I like teaching people things. Okay. Okay. Give ourselves all the backpacks that we want. Okay. We're going to go ahead and let's say we want to use the Kine. That one's cool. It's got the dragon. Okay. Set it down. Put something in it. Like the sword. Cool. Now when I pick it back up, my backpack weight now includes that sword. Cool. Now the problem previously is if I saved this, and then I quit out of the game, and then I restarted the game, the weight would be back down to 5 because it's a non-persistent modification, which actually ends up being really good if you modify the weight of something, especially in Requiem, and you quit out, your mass, if you know how Requiem works, your actual body weight and how much armor you're carrying and whatnot actually determines different effects. So if you're wearing a ton of armor, you can ram into someone and push them over if you have a lot of mass. But if you're wearing clothes or something, you have very little mass on you. And there's a whole bunch of different things like how much spell costs are and whatnot. But if the weight changes on an item, you get more or less mass, and that can mess with you incorrectly. Oops, what am I doing? Let's try this again. Okay. Okay, backpack is equipped. And it is equipped with the correct weight. Perfect. So that's done. If you can hear a loud kind of white noise in the background, that's just my teapot making noises. Cool. So that is now done. That's all cool. Maintenance now runs. That's great. Okay. This is pretty much the same thing as this thing is. Okay, now we're going to make an MCM, a mod configuration menu. And one of the few things that I have done prior to starting this to-do series is I made some images. And so the image that we're going to splash in the background looks like that. So when we open the MCM, it'll have this pretty little thing with all the different stuff on the side, and then you can click various menus to do various things. Might be a little overkill for a mod this small, but, you know, it looks nice. Okay, so how do we do that? Well, first I need to remind myself. Basically, we're going to end up making a code, or making a quest. Onto the quest, we're attaching an alias, the player alias as before, and then onto that, and onto the quest itself, we're going to add a new script, and that script will have all the things we want it to. Here is when I made it previously. So you'll notice that in terms of like actual properties that I need to import and blah, 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 it's not that big a deal. But the code is kind of chunky. There's a lot of boilerplate associated with it. And my teapot is now going off, so just a sec. Okay, as I was saying, so this code can be a little chunky, and have just a lot of things in it, but a lot of it's boilerplate. And if you go to the correct website, this one, right? Oh, I think I took. No, I didn't. There it is. Okay, if you go to GitHub, where Schlingster has Sky UI, so that you can build MCMs. So if you just went to like Schlingster's site here, or his GitHub, I went to Sky UI, you could see a lot of this stuff. In particular, there's a wiki, and on the side you've got a whole bunch of here. So API reference, examples. In fact, there's even a tutorial. I think it's called Quick Start. Yeah, and I think I haven't looked at it in a while, but there's a whole bunch of stuff there where you can learn how to do this. But he will give you some code to get this up and running. So, unlike usual, I am just going to copy a big chunk of this code since I've already done it, but I can walk you through it. Because literally, that's what you're going to do. You're going to go to the website, you're going to copy a lot of that code, you're going to put it down, you're going to change a few things. Okay, so where do I do that? Well, first, I'm going to make a new quest. BC. This is going to be called MCM menu quest. Why not? Oh, actually, why don't I just make the same name as I did before? Yeah, that's what I did call it. Okay, cool. And that's all you need to do there. Onto the quest aliases. You need to do a player alias. Specific, any cell, and it autofills with the player. And then you need to add the script. I think it's like SKI based, but if we can't, well, actually, why don't I show you how I would find out. So go here. You'll notice it says creating a new config menu. Controlled, blah, blah, blah. They all extend SKI config base. Oh, and it even tells you right here, so that's not attached to whatever. You put it on a quest. Such a quest is not a real quest. It doesn't do anything quests normally do, which is like the first part of this series. I mentioned that. So all you need to do is... Well, it says here somewhere. Oh yeah, in the quest aliases, player alias, fill type, player reference, cell any, ref player ref. In the scripts, you add SKI player load game alias, which is exactly what we're doing. So, oops, is that not what it's called? Oh no, SKI player load game alias. Okay. There it is. Cool, and that's done on a bun. Now the next thing we need to do is I think we add SKI. No, this is where we're going to add our script. So we're going to do new script, backpack containers, and we're going to call this MCM menu quest script. Cool. Now if we look at it, we see that it's, oh, and we need to change this. SKI base something or other. That's what I was mentioning up here. So it says create a new script that will control your config menu. For now, it doesn't have to be more than this. Script name extends SKI config base. So we have a script name, the actual name extends SKI base. Save. It compiles, everything compiles correctly. It's got a couple of properties. We will fill those here in just a few minutes, but not just yet. Okay, so now let's go ahead and open that. Now, this is when you'd then go to the website, yet again, and you'd customize. You'd put this, on-page reset, and you would add a whole bunch of extra stuff here. This is a reference. He even has examples. Oops, that's not what I want. No, just kidding. Oh, whatever. This is the one you want. Yeah, so you can literally just download this and change it accordingly. And it might look kind of intimidating, but really all that's happening here is it's saying, oh, do versioning, initiate a whole bunch of things in your different versions. And this literally just like make an integer called that. Done. And then it does this on configuration thing where it decides how many pages it's going to load. In my case, I'm going to have, the image splash screen, and maybe it'll have like a main page. If you have a really advanced mod, like yet again, I'm going to use Requiem as an example. It's got like several different windows of like, let's talk about things that are set on the player. Let's talk about how combat works, blah, blah, blah. And so you'd have like, however many pages that have all those different things. On version update, what they're going to change. Actually, Sky UI has its own versioning that's very different from the stuff that I was talking about earlier. And it tends to be pretty robust, I think. Now, this is an important one, on page reset. This is all the stuff that you're going to draw onto the page. And we'll go over mine in particular, the backpack containers in particular. And then there's just a whole bunch of different events. So when you select an option, for when you click a slider, this is when you first hold the slider, and this is when you accept the slider. That is, you release it. On a menu, open. On the menu, accept. So you're just doing a whole bunch of different things. So when you do those things, do whatever. So back to the code that we're going to be using. So you'll notice I have OIDs. They're just variables. When you make a window, it needs an ID, and so you just store that ID as an integer. And there's not much to it. So the initial button that you press in order to set your backpack down and pick it back up. I don't remember what this does. Obtain bag. New items bag. I don't know what that is, so we're probably going to get rid of it. And just a few properties, player alias and the quest. Okay, cool. So here we're going to do get version. It's going to return this. Right now, all my other stuff that has version numbers, I'm using 1, or n, but it's version 1, point, version number, and then another version number. Oops. The way I'm going to do that here, the way I'm going to represent that here, is just like a hundreds number. It's not perfect, but it works. Okay, that's done. On config init. So when we do this, there's a very special property called pages, and it's going to have a splash screen for your image, and then whatever pages you want. So this is yet again if you had like stats and perks and a whole bunch of different pages you want, you do that. This one's only going to have one main page. On version update, that's an event. So what happens is when this is run every time you start the game, it already has code underneath the hood that will check if it needs to update, and if it does, it's going to run this event, or it's going to call this event, or whatever you want to call that. That's where we're going to put code if we end up versioning and making greater and greater versions of this mod. Okay, now here's the most important set right here. This is the on-page reset. Oops, that's not what I wanted. Arr. Okay, so this. Yeah, let's use this one. So I've already made a .dds file. You need to make these as .ddss, but if you use GIMP, GIMP can totally output whatever image you make as a .dds. I like to make like PNGs and PNGs with backgrounds and everything, just so I can see it in here. But you're going to use a .dds, and you need to put it in the right directory in order for that to work. So if you go into Skyrim, data, I think it is it textures? No. Is there images? Where does this go again? I kind of forget. It goes somewhere really weird. That's right. The problem is I've actually already put it there. Oh, maybe it's interface or dialog views. This might be it. Yeah, I think you put it in interface. Yeah, that's not it. Yeah, so it goes into interface there. So Skyrim, data, interface. Okay. So now that that's in there, I've already figured out where I want to put this. I want to put it at 0, 0. So it starts at, right at the very right and upper corner, or bottom corner. And when I made that image, I made it the exact correct dimensions, which I always write down right here, such that I don't need to do any offsets. Okay, so unload custom content. I don't even know what that does. That must be a function underneath the hood. I don't know what that does. I'm going to copy it because I'm going to guess Schlingster put it in there for a reason. Okay, so now if the page is page 0, main, we're going to draw a whole bunch of things on the screen. Except it's this one. So what is that? Well, obtain the bag. We're not doing that. Let's go ahead and get rid of all that junk. Oh, I should probably put in all those. You know what? Actually, okay. Scrap this. Let me go ahead and actually start this over for you. Because now we got even more viewers. Okay. Initialize main page. This is just boilerplate. Go ahead and put it down. Let's do controls. So this is a header, so it's just text. And it needs an ID in order for it to be referenced later. Which is just an integer. So go ahead and put that up before everything else. Okay. We're going to add a key map option so we can change the key down event. Which key is the key down event. So this is the text that's displayed, and this is the actual button that is displayed. So since I've got viewers right now, let's go show you where you can find that information. So I think in form, yet again, creation kit. This is script objects. You can Google that. There is an SKSE member function. Yes. Register for key and things that actually look for those keys. So that's SKSE. On key down, it gives you the event when the player presses the key. Okay, so, oh yeah, this is where I want. Key down, key down. There it is. So there's what's called the DX scan code. And all it is, really, is a number associated with a button. So if I wanted to look for the escape key, well, then I say look for 1. In this case, backpack button is going to be an integer. And we're going to set it to, yet again using the cheat sheet here, 27, because 27, if you look on that DX scan code, is the closing bracket, which is the one I like using. But the whole point now is that you're going to have this key map option that, when opened, can change that key to whatever the player wants it to be. Okay, we have another OID, object ID, so that we can call that later. We can figure out what the ID of the thing is that the player's trying to do is. We're not going to do that. That was an idea that was kind of neat, but does not work out in general. So the idea was that, instead of always needing to take off your backpack, put it on the ground and put the new stuff in there. When you collect new items, just throw it directly in your back. But you can't update weights of backpacks while they're equipped to you. So that doesn't work. Okay, this one's also really cool. So I'd like, if you're running around and you put your backpack down, I do this a lot when I play with this mod. I had like a sniper. Oh, it was like a stealth archer, which is hilarious because I actually never play stealth archers, but in this case I did. I'll put my bag down and pull out the poisons or whatever from it, and then I'll go around and I'll snipe people, but then I'll forget where I put my bag, and sometimes I've actually left dungeons and later on went, wait, where's my bag? So in the MCM, it's going to show you where your bag is. That way, if you lose it, you can just go, oh, MCM, where's my bag? So again, that's just text, but it still needs an ID. We'll figure that out here in a second. And this is just so you can actually click it, because this is going to be a text option, and sometimes you can click them. I think in this case, this just makes it a slightly darker color. I just did it to make it look pretty. I'm going to do that later. We're not going to do that in this tutorial series, but button to then uninstall the mod. Which basically all it will do is it'll give you your items back and then maybe destroy all the references that it made. And then, you should be able to quit it then. Maybe it'll probably stop all the quests and hopefully stop all the scripts that are running too. But I'll do that at a different time. Okay, so the one thing we need to do is actually figure out how to get that bag location. So we go back to our trusty cheat sheet. Bag location. Ah, that's what this is for. New items in bag. What is that? Oh, that's a property. Okay, I think this was just a relic of the way I used to code things, or for this in particular. I think that was probably for this put items in your bag. So we'll skip that. This is back when I was using knapsacks rather than backpacks. So it gets the object reference. The bag location is not applicable if there is none. But if it does, find out that your backpack is out. Again, this was knapsack, but we're changing that. The bag location is get parent cell, get name. If that ends up being blank, which sometimes it does, then you're going to use a different function called get current location. I found this because I took this idea from Chesko's mod Arissa. I thought it was really nice to be like, hey, where's Arissa? So this code is almost completely just taken from that. So I'm going to try to put the acknowledgements there. Okay, so we're going to take this bit of code. And was that in page 0? I think it was, huh? Yep. Okay, so object reference is going to be player backpack. Player actions quest. I'll need that as a property. I need to import. Okay, so that's there now. Player actions quest, the script, and I think that's now called player backpack. It might be player backpack container. Ooh. That's actually kind of a misnomer, but okay. All right, so the bag location is not applicable if, and this is now backpack is out. Stop. Backpack out. That's what it is. Player actions quest as. Oh, I put that in a different spot. So we're still gonna have to do that. But now we need to do the get alias trick, or whatever you want to call it again. So I need to first cast the quest onto an alias and then get the script that's attached to that alias. Dot backpack out. Yep. So if the bag is out, get the parent cell and get the name. If that didn't have a name, then the location is going to be unknown. And then later, it then calls that bag location. And it does this every time this menu is opened. So I think this is done. For the most part, we need to actually do that key map option. So that's one last thing we need to do. Let's do that. Back here, on key map, on option key map change. And we don't have to worry about that anymore. Okay. That is after the page reset. That is outside the page reset, I believe. Yep. Cool. Okay, so if the option is a backpack button option ID, because you can imagine changing a lot of codes for a lot of different things, and that's when those IDs that I was talking about become really important, so that you can see which actual window you press this for. So if it's that, continue equals true. Oh, and all of this right here, this is code that I yet again just took from Schlingster. So in his example code, up right here, you can see it on option key map change. There's just all that code, and this is almost identical. So message, this key is already mapped, so it's already taking into account if you've already mapped these and if you're gonna sort of over map them. And then it shows a message. If you choose that message, then it will change the code yet again. Oh, that's what I did. That's kind of smart. Oh well. I'll just use that anyway. On that alias, projected down onto the script, there's a function called change backpack key, and we're going to change it to this new button. And then we'll just update the MCM to take that into account. Okay, so this is done, except we don't have an actual function here for doing that. But we're going to... Okay, this is super trivial to do. Do I need to return anything? Nope, cool. So this, we're gonna unregister for key, which is a form function. I'll just steal it from here again. Yep, so you can just call that on any function. You register for the new key, which, that's right, okay. Int new key. You unregister for the old key, you register for the new key, and the current key is now the new key. Done. So that's how you do that. There's that key there. Okay, so let's try that out. Yeah, expected as much. Okay, so 75.0. Let's see where our error is. right here. Okay. So it's possible one of these end functions isn't correct. Ah, it is not. We forgot to close this one. Oop. Except I forgot to close that too, so. Oops. Okay, backpack out is not a property on script BC player action script. Okay. Oh, I think I know why. Okay. Because I don't think it is. That's a great reason it would be. Backpack out, auto. It wasn't a property, it was just a variable. Okay, now it is. So let's go ahead and... one thing I mentioned earlier, but just good to remember, is that when you compile code that then relies on other code, it compiles all that other code in addition to it. So the fact that I added a property is now taken into account. Okay, so here's those properties I was talking about. So mod name, backpack containers. And pages, I think we're going to leave as default right now. Yeah. Cool. That's all that's for. Oh, no, we're not. Are we? Shoot, I don't remember. Because we might make them here. I'm gonna guess we don't, but we'll find out. Okay, that looks good. We'll make sure that all the properties are set on these. And I'm going to compile them even though that I know that they're basically already compiled. Nothing new on there. Oops. Maybe it is a good idea to compile them. Oh, interesting. So it apparently compiles them, but then like doesn't save the compile from it, just compiles to make sure that it would work correctly. I don't know. Okay, so that's false. That's good. That's saved. Yes. Yes. Cool. So MCM options. Let's check if it works. Oh shoot, someone was writing in the chat room, and I think I missed their text. Okay, cool. So now we're in here. We wait for Sky UI to do its thing. You'll notice in the upper left hand it says, oh, registered for menu. Cool, and there's 3 menus now. There's Campfire and Sky UI, of course. But now we have backpack containers, yay! And there's that pretty splash that I was talking about. And this, again, if you had more than just one window, this is where they all pop up. In main, there's my backpack key. And my backpack doesn't have a location because I don't have one yet. So we're going to do this. We're going to pick another button. Cool. And that button now works. Put that on. Everything seems to be working. Cool. Yet again, we're going to go into Sven's house. Put our bag down. Leave. And now, I thought that chicken was my bag, but okay. When we open this, oh, its current location is in Sven and Hilda's house. Cool. All right, that works. And we don't have any warnings. Cool. All right, that is done. Okay, I think that might be it. Again, I'm not going to do the form lists or the code profiling as a menu. And these are useful, but like I'm literally just going to follow a guide for that, so I'm not going to show you that. I actually, okay, so originally with Requiem, I was going to make a patch where, you put weight in your backpack, but the problem is that actually increases your mass. And so if you put like your armor in your backpack or something, your character like walks really slowly. It actually slows them down significantly, which, is kind of weird if you're thinking, you're like, oh, but it was already in my inventory. Why is it slowing me down? It's like, well, that's Requiem. But I think I like it the way it is. I was playing with it with Requiem, and I noticed that I didn't want to overload my bag. I wanted to keep my bag, 30 pounds or lighter, which, sometimes it gets all the way up to 50, and my character is starting to get pretty slowed down. But if you've ever hiked with a backpack, those numbers actually end up working out really well. Where 60 is kind of heavy, and it would slow me down. So I think the only thing to change for a Requiem version is the actual base weight of the backpack. That should be 3.5. But I think I'll do that offline if I decide to make that patch. So yeah, the only other thing to do is a patch to work with one of the previous viewers, Foxfi. And I'll kind of show you what I'm going to do for that, but I think this is basically done, this tutorial. So, okay. I think all I would need to do is build a static that includes their model. So much like I looked at where the Campfire model is, I would look at where the Foxfi's model is and then make a new static which represents that. Then it's possible that the tent and the axe and everything like that are in different locations. So I'd have to modify the script to take that into account. So just orient them in different positions. And then I think all I'd have to do is add it to these arrays here. So put the armor, so Foxify's backpack, and then the static that I make from that, and then everything else works. It's done. So I don't think I'm going to go over that right now. One thing I am going to go over is, for whatever reason, I used to have 4 scripts. Rather than 3, and I don't remember why. Oh, no, we totally need to do that. Okay, this isn't over yet. So, one thing that you need to keep in mind, oops, don't do that. I'll have to filter that out, or edit this video for that. Okay, is if I open my bag and I remove the axe, I want to update the static representation outside of the bag. So you know how there's an axe on the outside. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make another script, and I'm going to attach it to the backpacks. So I'm going to do that for all 33 backpacks, which is not. Oh no, I'm not. I'm just going to add one to the container. Okay, perfect. And all it'll have is, well, the quests so that I can do various things. I wonder what that is. Oh, okay, right. So I need to watch for the player removing an item from the bag and putting it into their inventory, and then when they take an item from their inventory and put it into the bag. So that's why I need that quest, so I can watch the player too. And do other things too, like say, oh, they have a tent or whatever, or modify those. So then all it else has otherwise is all the tents, the cooking pot, the axe, and the 3 statics that I made. So the tent, the axe, and the cooking pot. Maybe I won't show this. Maybe we will end it. Because then all you do is you add the event filters for all of those items, cooking pot, axe, and all the tents. And then you watch for if they're removed. So if something's removed from your inventory, well, then you're going to remove it from... Yeah, I think this makes sense. This is pretty trivial. It doesn't look super trivial, but it really is. You just remove it from... or you set the booleans false, like, oh, then the backpack no longer has a tent. And so I'm going to disable those references, or I'm going to enable those references. So I think I'll do that offline because I'm tired talking. So, all right. Well, I hope you learned something. I hope you enjoyed this. Again, if you have any questions, I occasionally check YouTube. So write them in YouTube, and I'll hopefully get back to you. With that, time for me to leave.